Today we're going to take a look at special angle pairs. We are finished with Unit 1. So Unit 1 had the transformations, midpoint formula, distance formula. So we're going to take a pause right now on those topics, but don't forget them because they'll come up as the semester goes on. And of course, way down the line, we'll have an exam at the end of the semester. But for this week, we're going to take a look at special angle pairs. Not a lot of calculations today, just looking at pictures and determining what type of special angles they are and what kind of relationship they have. So let's get started. Parallel lines are lines that never intersect. So I'm sure that you've heard of these kind of lines before. They're going in the same direction, in the same plane, and they do not intersect. A transversal is a line that intersects two lines at two distinct points. So transversal may be new to you, but parallel lines, I'm sure you've heard of those before. So let's take a look at our picture here. So this is T. T is the transversal that's cutting the line. J and K are lines, and this symbol here means that they are parallel to each other. So this is an arrow and that's an arrow. They're going the same direction. They're parallel to each other. They will never intersect. And T intersects these two lines at this point here and at this point here. So there's 8 angles that are made. Angle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we're going to go through and talk about the special relationships that are made from these angles. So first, let's talk about vertical angles. Vertical angles are across from each other, and I like to think of them as like making an X. So 1 and 4 are vertical angles, 2 and 3 are vertical angles. 5 and 8 are vertical angles, and 6 and 7 are vertical angles. So let's write that in our box. So 1 and 4, 2 and 3, 5 and 8, 6 and 7. So 1 and 4, 2 and 3, 5 and 8, 6 and 7. So those are vertical angles. They are across from each other, and are actually congruent to each other. So vertical angles are, let's put a little note here. I'm going to say congruent. So vertical angles are congruent to each other. 1 and 4 are congruent, 2 and 3 are congruent, 5 and 8 are congruent, 6 and 7 are congruent. And congruent means they have the same angle measure. All right, let's take a look at alternate interior angles. So the name hopefully kind of leads you to where they are. Alternate means on different sides of my transversal. So one's on this side and one's on that side. And then interior means they have to be in this section here. So this is the inside, this is the interior, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And 1, 2, 7, and 8 are the exterior. So my alternate interior angles are 3 and 6. And 4 and 5. So 3 and 6 are alternate interior angles. 4 and 5 are alternate interior angles. Alternate exterior angles, so your outside exterior angles are 1, 2, 7, and 8. Alternate means one has to be on the left side and one has to be on the right side. So our alternate exterior angles are 1 and 8. 2 and 7. So 1 and 8 are alternate exterior angles. 2 and 7 are alternate exterior angles. Same side interior angles, again, lets you know same side means they're both on the left or both on the right. Same side interior angles would be 3 and 5. These are same side. So 3 and 5. And the other pair is 4 and 6. They are same side interior angles, 4 and 6. You might also hear these called consecutive interior angles. So same side interior angles or consecutive interior angles, they mean the same thing. They're talking about 3 and 5 and 4 and 6. So that is a 5. Before I forget, vertical angles are congruent to each other. Alternate interior angles are also congruent to each other. Alternate exterior angles are also congruent to each other. Same side interior angles are equal to 180. So they sum to 180 degrees. So 4 of our 6 special angle pairs defined so far. 3 of them are congruent. So those pairs, 3 and 6, are congruent to each other. 4 and 5 are congruent to each other. But same side interior angles, which are also called consecutive interior angles, they sum to 180 degrees. So when we add them together, it gives us 180. Okay, corresponding angles. Corresponding angles mean, so like this is like one pod or one section, and then this is another section. So corresponding means they're in the same position. So it might be easier with an example. So say I did 1 and 5. Okay. 1 and 5 are corresponding angles. They're both relative to their angles that are close by, are in the same position. This is in the upper left corner relative to this pod, and this is in the upper left corner relative to this pod. So they correspond to each other. So 1 and 5. Other things that correspond, 2 and 6. Notice they're in the same position. So 2 and 6. Angles 3 and angle 7 are corresponding. Angle 4 and angle 8 are also corresponding. So corresponding angles are congruent to each other as well. So lots of pairs that are congruent. And the last one, a linear pair. So linear pair means when you add them together, it's going to equal 180 degrees. So there are a lot of linear pairs. So linear pair equals 180 degrees. When you add up the two angles, you get 180. So 1 and 2 are going to be a linear pair. 1 and 2. We got 3 and 4 are a linear pair. 2 and 4 are a linear pair. 1 and 3 are a linear pair. And I can do the same thing with the bottom section. 5 and 6 are a linear pair. Just like 6 and 8 are a linear pair. 7 and 8. And 5 and 7. So linear pair this direction, so they're right beside each other. So the angles that are beside each other equal 180 degrees. Okay. So vertical angles, alternate interior angles, alternate exterior angles, and corresponding angles are congruent. Same side interior angles and the sum, same side interior angles and linear pairs equal 180 degrees. So now, Now we're going to go through and we're going to do some examples and we're going to label each pair of angles. So we'll keep that in our view in case we need to use that as a reference. So it says name each pair of angles. So 1 and 5. So here's 1 and here's 5. So you either can look at the diagram below or look at the numbers that I have down here. Angle 1 and angle 5 are corresponding angles. They're in the same position. So these are corresponding, I'm going to abbreviate, so corresponding angles. All right, angle 3 and angle 6. Where here's 3 and here's 6. They're inside angles, so interior angles, and they're on the same side. So these are same side interior angles. Same side interior angles. And this is my symbol for angles. Okay, and you can see it up there as well. So same side interior angles. Angle 6 and angle 8. So here's 6 and 8. Think of like an X. So 6 and 8, these are vertical angles. Vertical angles. 2 and 3. So here's 2 and 3 here. So 2 and 3 make a linear pair. One's exterior and one's interior, so it can't be a same side interior. So 2 and 3 make a linear pair. So when I add those two angles together, it would give me 180 degrees. Angle 1 and angle 7, where 1 is up here and 7 is down here. These are outside angles, and they're on the opposite side. So these are alternate, and I'm abbreviating, alternate exterior angles. Angle 4 and angle 6. So there's 4 and there's 6. They're on opposite sides. These are alternate interior angles. And again, abbreviating. Angle 4 and angle 8. Here's 4 and here's 8. So there's 4 and there's 8. They're in the same position. These are corresponding angles. And last but not least, angle 3 and angle 5. There's 3 and there's 5. They're on different sides on the inside. These are alternate interior angles. So just like that, we were able to use our 6 different type of angles that we have, and we were able to name each pair of angles. So again, not a lot of calculations, just recognizing if they're vertical, alternate interior, alternate exterior, same side, corresponding, or a linear pair. All right, example 2, find the measure of each angle. So we're going to go through and actually figure out what the exact angle measure is. Now, in this picture, the only angle that they give us, so in this picture, the only angle that they give us is the measure of angle 8, which is 35 degrees. So they tell us that this one particular angle is 35 degrees. Now, based off of this, I am able to find the measure of all the other angles. So if this is 35, I know that if I jump over here to number 1, it is a corresponding angle because it's the same position, just in different pods, so to speak, but the same position. So these are corresponding angles. So if this angle is 35, angle 1 is also 35 degrees because they're corresponding angles. Other things that are going to help us, I know that these are linear pairs, so 1 and 2 linear pair. Angle that's 35 degrees and angle 5 are linear pairs. So these are also linear pairs. So to do a linear pair, you would do 180 minus 35. And of course, you could do some mental math or do it in a calculator. So 180 minus 35 gives me 145 degrees. So angle 2 is 145, and so is angle 5. Now, I could go through and label the rest of these as well. So I know that these are vertical angles. 1 and 4 are vertical angles. 2 and 3 are vertical angles. This angle and 7 are vertical angles, and this angle and 6 are vertical angles. Vertical angles are congruent to each other. So now I can start filling in some information. So the measure angle 1, we already found that to be 35. The measure of angle 2, these form a linear pair, so together they add to give you 180. So this is 145. Okay. 2 and 3 are a vertical pair, so they are congruent to each other. So if 2 is 145, so is 3. The measure of angle 4, vertical angles 1 and 4, so they're congruent to each other. So this one has to be 35 degrees also. Angle 5, which is this one here, which we already found earlier because it makes a linear pair. So this is 145. And the last one to measure angle 6. Again, I got another vertical angle going on here. So these two were a linear pair. These two are a vertical angle where my pen is moving there. So vertical angles are congruent to one another. So 145 degrees. So just like that, we were able to find the different angle measures, and all we were given was one specific angle measure. So if you're given that one specific angle measure, you can go through and label vertical, interior, exterior, linear pairs, etc. You're able to figure out your angle measures. All right, now you're all ready to go get started on today's assignment.